of President Trump's supporters here.
Greatest movement in the history of our country. The most racist thing a person could tell me is that I'm supposed to choose something based on my race.
You ain't black.
Joe Biden has never been a friend to African Americans.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of what we call
Truth Over Facts.
China lied to us. They destroyed test kits. They lied to their own people.
Since Ronald Reagan, we haven't had a president more engaged and more involved in the Western Hemisphere than this administration, and it's been a great partnership to work with him on.
Well, you've heard of The View, but welcome to The Right View.
And with us today is the Motor City madman, Ted Nugent, because this isn't your typical political show.
It's the most important election in our lifetime.
Joe Biden, who has a dismal record of economic failure and absolutely terrible ideas for the future.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Team Trump Online.
This country of the United States was not built by those who waited and rested and wished to look behind them.
Man is about to launch himself on a trip to the moon.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things.
Man on the moon. Boy.
We can see you coming down the ladder now.
38-year-old American standing on the surface of the moon.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
That magnificent moment, they did the impossible because they knew that together there is absolutely nothing Americans can't do. Now we are ready to begin the next great chapter of American space exploration.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
The vows of this nation can only be fulfilled if we in this nation are first.
Once more, we will launch intrepid souls blazing through the sky and soaring into the heavens. Once more, we will summon the American spirit to tame the next great American frontier. And once more, we will proudly lead humanity. And that's what it is. It's humanity beyond the earth and into those forbidden skies, but they will not be forbidden for long.
With guidance, navigation, and control.
You're very important people. You have a great, great contribution. What you're doing has been incredible, but it will be even more incredible, far more incredible. Because we are giving you a platform the likes of which nobody has ever been given. Our nation of pioneers still yearns to conquer the unknown. Because we are Americans and the future belongs totally to us.
Drop Dragon, loud and clear.
And we will make America great again.
And back ignition.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Make Space Great Again on Team Trump Online. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, National Chair of Trump Victory and Senior Advisor to President Trump's re-election campaign. With me tonight are two individuals very familiar with space, Jeff DeWit, former CFO of NASA, and Janet Kavandi, Senior Vice President at the Sierra Nevada Corporation and retired NASA astronaut. Thank you both so much for joining us. Now on Saturday, we all witnessed history as NASA and SpaceX successfully launched two American astronauts into space for the first time in nearly a decade. And thanks to President Trump's inspirational leadership, the United States has officially made space great again. And we have a lot to celebrate and much to discuss about this launch, so let's get it started. So Saturday, for the first time in nearly a decade, American astronauts launched into space aboard an American rocket from American soil. I want to play this clip, I can't get enough of it, of President Trump from the launch.
With this launch, the decades of lost years and little action are officially over. A new age of American ambition has now begun. Past leaders put the United States at the mercy of foreign nations to send our astronauts into orbit. Not anymore. Today, we once again proudly launch American astronauts on American rockets, the best in the world, from right here on American soil.
What does this extraordinary moment mean for America and the future of space exploration? Janet, as an American astronaut, I'm going to come to you first on this. What did you think and feel when you saw this historic event and you yourself being an incredible, astronaut going into space? What's it like?
Oh, well, it was quite inspiring to see Americans launch from American soil again. The last time I watched that was back in 2011 when I was at the last shuttle launch. And of course, that was a bittersweet time to watch us fly the shuttle for the last time. So getting to see Doug and Bob fly from American soil again was quite thrilling. I watched with bated breath as everything happened, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it's incredible. And you know what it's like to be able to gear up, get ready to go. And I had the great fortune and honor and privilege of being there at the first attempt down to the last, 10 minutes when they decided to scrub the launch. But it can be, I don't know, I can even only imagine what it's like to be there ready to go, suited up. And, just that anticipation, that feeling, that just, exhilaration. What's it like in those few moments right before?
Oh, yeah, it's hard to describe. It's actually quite thrilling. It's something you've waited your whole life for. You've trained, you've gone to school, you've been selected, and you finally find yourself in that capsule. And you're sitting there and you're hearing all the noises that the vehicle makes. You're hearing the voices on the loops that, as mission control talks to you. And then you hear the countdown start. And then is when your heart really starts to pound. And you just can't believe that your dreams are coming true there at that moment. You are actually going to fly into space. And I remember that on my very first launch, which actually today is the anniversary of my first launch. So I remember that feeling. It came back to me watching Doug and Bob there on the pad and feeling that exhilaration and feeling your heart rate go up in anticipation of lifting off the pad is just indescribable.
Pretty incredible, and to be a female astronaut. I mean, so many people just look up to you and really are just so incredibly grateful for your sacrifice and what you've been able to do for the country. And I'm sure it was just a special emotional moment when you were watching some of your fellow colleagues about to lift off, and to be able to have a successful mission like that, and from the specific area where in 1969 they launched. It's filled with so many historical moments and connections and anecdotes. It's great. Jeff, talk to me a little bit about what this means, that successful launch of SpaceX for America and for the country and going forward for space.
It is unbelievable what President Trump and Vice President Pence have done for our country in reinvigorating our space program again. It's something that we've needed as a country for a long time. Just to backtrack 1 second, give a little plug for Janet, by the way. She's, having worked at NASA as the CFO, she's a legend among legends at NASA. So I'm really excited to get to do this with her. She was, when I was the CFO of NASA, she was the center director of one of our largest centers, Glenn Research Center. She's a 3-time shuttle astronaut. She went up 3 times. She has over 500 orbits of the Earth. She's been up in space longer than a month. I think it's 33 days, if I'm not mistaken. Today is the anniversary of her first launch. She's traveled over 13 million miles in space. So just so we know who we're sitting with here, she is a legend.
I mean, Janet, you're a rock star. You're like a space all-star. That's incredible.
Even at NASA, where we have astronauts walking around, Janet is a legend and a rock star among the rock stars. So I'm so overjoyed to be here with you today, Janet.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I have to tell you, you know, women that are watching this program tonight, and we have over 1 million viewers, some nights over 2 million and upwards on these Team Trump Online. Can imagine the amount of people that you're reaching and inspiring and hearing your story. I hope someone out there is listening to this, and whether it's, you know, a boy or a young girl or an adult thinking about, wow, this is incredible. You know, if you can do something like this, like everything, you know, is possible. And that's what we really want. It's an inspirational message. And President Trump brought this back again to the country. Instead of exporting it to other countries like Russia and others, we're doing it here with American innovation, with American rockets on American soil. And this is right in keeping with his America First policies. God bless. It's amazing. And Jeff, you're hired. You're better than Wikipedia. You just gave like Janet's file, like boom, boom, boom. I love it.
Now, one more thing on what this administration's done is this administration, one of the first things President Trump did in office was to reconstitute Space Council and appointed Vice President Mike Pence to be the chair of the Space Council. And they issued right away Space Policy Directive 1, which ordered NASA to go back to the moon. So very exciting thing. If you look at the previous administration under President Obama, they canceled what's called Constellation. They canceled the big human exploration part of NASA. Who
cancels the space program? I mean, do people want more of that? That's Obama, Biden, you know, no.
Right, exactly. And that's what we'd go back to if Biden were to win this election. We could go back to canceling all these space programs. It is so exciting what this administration has done for NASA. And, you know, working firsthand as the CFO of NASA and seeing how much President Trump cares about what we do. If I ever had a need at NASA, he was right there to talk to get us what we needed. He really does care about the future of the space program, and you're seeing that played out. You saw that this weekend. And again, as you keep saying, which I love saying, the first launch since 2011 of an American astronaut from an American rocket on American soil. Thank you, President Trump and Vice President Pence.
My God, amen. We certainly do thank them. And we want to keep this innovation going and this respect and curiosity and innovation as it relates to the U.S. space program going with President Trump and Vice President Pence. You're absolutely right. You know, and this launch did make history, as you said, as the first time a commercial aerospace company helped carry astronauts into space. So, Jeff, I'm going to tag back to you again about this. How does this example of a critical public-private sector partnership between NASA and SpaceX lay kind of the foundation to the future of space exploration? And why is this so important beyond like the thrill and being part of a space exploration? Why is it important for the sustenance and the longevity of space programs and development going forward?
Well, the first thing, we all know the private sector does a much better job of pretty much everything than the government can do. Now, NASA has been an exception to the rule for a long time, but to get to leverage now the private sector and these commercial companies allows us access to more money, more human capital, more innovation, to do a lot more faster. And what you saw was actually just the tip of the iceberg. So we saw SpaceX just because they came up first. What you're going to see also very soon, you're going to see Boeing launch privately commercial astronauts to the space station. As you see over Janet's shoulder there's something called Dream Chaser, which is, to me, one of the most exciting things that we're building right now. That is actually, Janet is now in charge of building that very thing. And what that is, and I like to characterize it this way, it's kind of a future space shuttle. So this could be enabled to carry, right now it's going to carry cargo to the space station. It could be enabled to carry human beings to the space station, astronauts. And right now what you're seeing with SpaceX and Boeing on the commercial crew program is they're doing capsules with parachutes, which is great. We're launching from American soil. What you're going to see when Dream Chaser launches is another space shuttle. It has wings. It can land at any runway over 10,000 feet. You could theoretically land that at San Francisco International or anywhere else, Houston, tons of airports. And so we're building the future. This is all because, and that's because of a partnership with Sierra Nevada Corporation that NASA has, so which has been a great partner to NASA. So you're seeing all of these things come together now, and it's very exciting, and it's growing. You have Elon Musk with SpaceX. Don't forget Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, has a space company called Blue Origin, and they're involved with helping us build our human lander. So when you see humans, the next people to walk on the surface of the moon, thanks to President Trump and Vice President Pence in giving us this initiative, these will also be commercial partners like this helping us get there. You're going to see the first female astronaut walk on the moon in history. It's going to be a great thing, and this is all thanks to this administration. It's wonderful what's going on.
I cannot wait. And, Jen, a lot of people are at home and they're just wondering, can you imagine, your colleagues that are up there in space? Can you tell us, based, on your experience and everything, what they might be kind of going through right now, what they're working on, what's happening? Give us sort of a glimpse into that world.
Sure. Yeah, so we have the International Space Station, which is orbiting the Earth all the time, a little over 200 miles up there, and it provides a really nice environment, a microgravity environment in which to do experiments. So we can do medical experiments, we can do material science experiments. So the astronauts, when they first arrive, they join some other astronauts who are already up there. It's usually an international group of people. And they join other people and they start working on whatever their tasks are. They have a very tight day. You're very well scheduled all through the day with one task to the next task. You also build in exercise equipment, exercise time with specialized equipment. That's to help prevent your bones from deteriorating from the lack of gravity in space. So you need to keep your bones dense and your body healthy. So there's a lot of exercise time built in as well. So they're up there doing all kinds of experiments, doing Earth observations, doing flame experiments, doing biological experiments. All of that helps us prepare our people for the next step, which would be go to the moon and eventually onto Mars. And the more we can learn in low Earth orbit and fix all the problems that we find there, the better it will be whenever we get to the surface of the moon and Mars.
Well, certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to Bob and to,
Doug.
Sorry, yeah, Bob, and then Doug. Yeah, and Doug, sorry, we had a little technical problem there, but definitely we just want to send our thoughts and prayers to their families too, which are probably quite anxious about thinking about them and how they're doing. And we certainly hope that they're healthy and doing well right now. And we can't wait to hear all about it when they come back. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back after this with more Make Space Great Again, only here on Team Trump Online.
In 2016, we built an unbeatable operation that changed history. Now, we unveil our next breakthrough. The exclusive Trump 2020 app. This isn't just an app. This is your source for real news, not fake news. Straight from the campaign and the president himself. This is your direct line to give input on key campaign issues. Your portal to register voters. Host MAGA meetups. Your scheduler, your application on becoming a Trump team leader. Join millions and get a front row seat to our virtual events. Watch Team Trump every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Earn points, get rewarded, get the presidential photo. Oh, and did we mention this is your personal shopper too? So just to repeat, this isn't just an app. This is your tool to keep America great. Join the Army for Trump and download the app today.
All right, welcome back to Make Space Great Again. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, and I'm joined by Jeff DeWit and Janet Kavandi. We just discussed the historic space launch on Saturday, and now it's time to turn our attention to the newest branch of the United States Armed Forces, Space Force. So let's watch this clip of President Trump's announcement.
When it comes to defending America, it is not enough to merely have an American presence in space. We must have American dominance in space. So important. Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the sixth branch of the armed forces. That's a big statement.
Okay, well, Jeff, people have mocked the president for creating a Space Force, if you can even believe that. Why do you think it's important that President Trump took this historic step?
Look, space is a very, very important domain for American life. People don't realize that your crops are now harvested because of GPS signals. You can't get cash out of a bank ATM without the timing signal sent from space. Space is so important. Think about your phone and getting directions, everything else you do. There are a lot of automated things that run off that as well. In addition to that, it's been roughly a decade ago that the Chinese launched a missile from Earth that blew up one of their own satellites. So at that point, space became, unfortunately, militarized to a degree, and other countries have followed suit. Much to our dismay, India did it a year ago. They blew up a satellite in space. So countries are doing this now to prove the technology. And if we ever went to war and countries were launching missiles to blow up satellites, it could create havoc here on Earth. So space is a very, very important domain. In addition to that, people don't realize that space, it's not just at NASA. It's spread all over the federal government. You have space at Commerce. You have space in the Air Force from space traffic management and orbital debris mitigation. You have the FAA that plays a role in launch windows. So it's become so fragmented. It truly has been a need for our country to start consolidating down this domain. And we haven't wanted to do it at NASA because we're a civil space agency. But to put all this into a Department of Defense agency, just to start consolidating for efficiency's sake and for communication's sake, how we do things has been, it's truly an idea that should have happened before, but kudos to President Trump for capitalizing on that vision and that need to create it now. It's something that had to be done.
It's almost unbelievable that this was something that was just suspended essentially for almost a decade. It's unbelievable. But thank God that President Trump and I know Vice President Pence is very enthusiastic about it. And it's really incredible to see like their leadership and working together for it. So Janet, the exploration obviously of space, it's very exciting. It's very complex, as you know. Can you kind of explain to the average viewer, the average person out there, the difference between civil space and commercial space, and then the Space Force, entity for our viewers at home?
Yeah, the lines can get a little blurry sometimes, but primarily civil space is what we've always envisioned in our past about the exploration of the universe, where we talk about, the first steps on the moon. That was civil space. That's what NASA is about. Doing things for the sake of exploration and research, learning about other planets, going to Mars, learning about the surface of what's on the surface there. Could we ever build a colony there? All those kinds of things are civil space. We also, the International Space Station is mostly civil space. What we've done now is incorporated commercial space into the civil world, where, as we just talked about, the SpaceX launch is a commercial supplier of a space vehicle. The Sierra Nevada Corporation, owned by Aaron and Fadi Osman, they invested a lot of their own personal money to build this vehicle that you see behind me. That is commercial space. We talked about Jeff Bezos of Amazon. He's been investing his money in commercial space. And then we have the traditional players too, the Boeings, the Lockheed Martins, the Northrop Grumman, all those traditional players that have always been there working in commercial space as well. In addition to what Jeff mentioned, like the satellites that help our communications happen so that we can talk on our cell phones. All of that is commercial space. And the future of commercial space is where we think we're going to have an explosion of new business, right? There's so much potential to use space commercially, and possibly the moon commercially, and possibly Mars commercially eventually someday. But we have to take those baby steps to get, to a habitat on the moon, to learn to live there for a while, make mistakes there. We can fix them. They're 4 days away, right, to get to the moon. It's not that far away. We'll fix things that break. We'll figure out how to make it better. Then we'll take it on to Mars, because Mars is a really long way away. So that's almost a year to get to Mars. And a year back. So we can't really afford to have big mistakes when we get to Mars.
You're absolutely right. Such an important point.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of left that off, but the defense side of things is where we go into the Space Force realm, right? So that's where we defend the country and against our adversaries. Unfortunately, we didn't want to have to go there in space, but that's sort of the way the world is and the reality that we have to deal with. So that's yet another aspect of space.
All right, fantastic. And thank you both. We're going to take one final break. We'll be right back for more Make Space Great Again on Team Trump Online. Stay with us.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Hysterical xenophobia.
Be giving Americans a false sense.
Is it accurate that if these steps had not been put in place, it could have been 2 million people dead here in the United States?
Yes. No matter how hard they try to stop us, they can't. We built the greatest economy the world has ever seen, and we're going to do it again. Together, we're beating back the invisible enemy.
What the federal government did was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Through it all, the world has witnessed the unyielding resolve of our incredible American people.
Promise made, promise kept.
And I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And you know that. With the grace of God, we will win this war, and we will win this war quickly. And we will make America great again.
Welcome back to Make Space Great Again. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, and we just discussed the United States Space Force and how important it will be in protecting American national security and the American way of life. Now, early on in his presidency, President Trump laid out an agenda that would put America back on the moon for the first time in half a century. He is committed to putting the first woman on the moon and then continuing on to Mars. The successful launch on Saturday is the first step towards achieving that incredible goal. As it always is with President Trump, it's promises made and promises kept. Now, Janet, can you tell us what the future of American space exploration looks like? And Jeff, then we'll get your thoughts as well.
Okay, well, what I'm hoping to see in the future is that more exploration of the lunar vicinity and the lunar surface. That is something that I always wanted to do myself. I would have loved to have been that first one on the moon. I probably dreamed about that since I was a kid. But just to be able to go into space was a dream come true in itself. So what we're trying to do is build a platform around the lunar surface, that above the lunar surface, so that we can take a rocket and put people there in orbit around the lunar surface. We're going to take them down to the surface of the moon. They can explore the surface of the moon with a human landing system. My company, Sierra Nevada, and a lot of other companies are also working on this lunar lander. We can do our work down there on the ground, learn how to take regolith, or the material on the surface of the moon, turn it into breathable oxygen, and then we can, create a way to live on the surface of the moon, eventually build a habitat and stay there for a while. Now we can take the information that we gather from that exploration, and we then can push to Mars and do the same thing there. It's a little bit different surface. We have we have an atmosphere on Mars. We don't have one on the moon. We have a little bit better radiation protection, but all those things we have to figure out while we're close by. How to shield the astronauts, how to help with any kind of health conditions, how do we get them back quickly, or how do we have medical services on the surface, because on Mars, again, like we said, it's a year away. You have to take care of yourselves there. So there's so much to learn and so much to do to get us there, but I'm just really excited for what's ahead.
Yeah, Jeff, I mean, how do you see it? What is your vision? How does the future, of space exploration look like for on the moon? And as Janet's been talking about on Mars, when you think about these things like medical issues, et cetera, and how far the distance is, God forbid, if something were to happen where it's exigent circumstances and life or death. I mean, we kind of don't think about that, but you have to in terms of laying out a space program too.
The way I look at it in my senses is one of the great things, the many great things that President Trump and Vice President Pence have pushed is this commercialization piece that we keep talking about that is allowing us to do more. Yet you have billionaires, like we said before, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, putting a lot of their own personal resources now to help NASA along. As Janet mentioned, you have Aaron and Fadi Osman with Sierra Nevada Corporation putting a ton of their personal resources to help us along. They're almost legends at NASA too for what they're doing in the commercial space and how much they can do. So many things are now helping us get there. And what NASA's doing now, we have there's a person at NASA named Kira Blackwell running a program called iTech, which is reaching out. They're doing Shark Tank-like events, and what she's doing is amazing for bringing the venture capital sector in with these smaller companies that are trying to build what we need at NASA. So we're really looking to get more and more players involved in the commercial space, as well as, I was really proud to roll out when I was the CFO of NASA, I got to roll out the commercialization of the space station, where we're going to allow private astronauts to come to the space station. And funny enough, the first one you might see who they're talking to right now is Tom Cruise, to go up to the space station and actually film a space movie in space itself. That may be the first private astronaut we see. Opening up our great resources to allow things like that, as well as to help us get to the moon, get to Mars faster, is one of the great things you're going to see in the future that was not available in the past. So this administration has done so much for NASA and for space exploration and for what the future now holds. And it was great for me to have an absolute front row seat to this, again, as the CFO of NASA. And now I'm just proud to get to see it go forward. And what President Trump and Vice President Pence have done is going to pay dividends for decades and decades into the future. It's really, they should be commended every day for what they're doing for our space program.
Amen. They really should. And I think you guys have really made the case and laid it out. And thank God that under their leadership, they had the courage and the vision to be able to do this and, revamp our whole space program again and, breathe new life into it. It's imperative for the future. And I cannot even still get over the fact that we would export it and outsource it to other countries like Russia and rely on them and their innovation. That was never the case in America. And thanks to President Trump, hopefully it will never be again. Jen, I want to get you to take a quick look here about a clip of POTUS talking about the future of space plans in America.
By 2024, our astronauts will return to the lunar surface to establish a permanent presence and the launching pad to Mars. And the first woman on the moon will be an American woman, and the first nation to land on Mars will be the United States of America.
Janet, can you discuss the Artemis program, and do you have some words for all the little girls who want to grow up and become astronauts just like you, and the importance of the message that we have here to hear from President Trump?
Yes, the Artemis program is very exciting. It is the return to the moon, to the surface of the moon by Americans. And it is something I mentioned earlier that I had always wished I could go to the moon as a child. Back in the day when I was growing up, there were no women astronauts, but I had a great dad who told me that I could always do whatever I wanted. So I never even thought about not going to space. I always thought, well, my dad said I can do it, so I can do it, So I think parenting is very important in helping us teach our children, boys and girls, that we can achieve our goals. So I will always attribute my ability to have done what I've done to his encouragement, and my mom as well. But I remember him specifically telling me those things. And then when I was in the astronaut office, I was director of flight crew operations for a period of time, and I was able to chair the astronaut selection board. And it's just so impressive today how many women are so qualified to be astronauts. 30 or 40 years ago, women weren't in the same kind of careers as men, but today we're in all the same kind of careers that men are. I was able in that class where I chaired the selection board, it was the first time we've ever selected half women and half men into an astronaut class. So that was really phenomenal. And these were incredibly talented women, and you see them flying today. And maybe one of them is going to be the first one on the moon, and I certainly hope so. But we've got an incredible group of people to choose from, men and women around the world. Of course, NASA's pretty choosy about who they select to go to space. It's a very expensive process, and there's a lot of training, and it's not for the faint of heart. So
big investment.
So women who are strong little girls who grow up to be strong women are the kind of people that we want to put in space and have to be the first woman on the moon.
Fantastic and well stated. Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
I'll add to that, because I have 3 daughters, and my daughters all look at Janet Kavandi as an absolute rock star and a role model. And I can't think of any better role model than her and what she has done as a 3-time astronaut. But I have my middle daughter, Katie, absolutely is as far as all my 3 daughters, is the most ambitious in going to work at NASA later in life.
Cool.
She's only 12 right now. And she looks at what Janet's done, and she tells me she's going to be on Mars at some point. And what's great about America, and what's great about what President Trump and Vice President Pence are doing for our space program is that's actually possible. Mm-hmm. It is actually possible that in 15 years from now, or who knows when, that my daughter is walking around the surface of Mars. Anyone's daughter, anyone out there, your daughters can do this. And Janet Kavandi, sitting right here, is the proof of that. And so it's just amazing to see. It's such an inspirational agency, and space in general, what it does for humanity in the science and everything else.
One more interesting tidbit. Sorry to interrupt you, Jeff, but both Doug and Bob that we just mentioned, you mentioned, Kim, about their families. Mm-hmm. Both of them are also married to female astronauts. So it's very unusual, but they both happen to be married to other female astronauts. So and they have astronaut babies too. So it's very cool. You know, it kind of runs in the family at times.
That's incredible. I love it. There should be like a Match.com just for astronauts. Then both of them are married to astronauts. There you go. That's pretty incredible. But, you know, I love what you had to say, Jeff, and I'm excited. I look forward to the day that, one of your daughters will end up going into space or maybe on the moon or Mars. But, you know, I think the example you set, Janet, it holds true for little girls out there, little boys out there, to really, you know, believe and live their dreams. And I love it. I too was really had a big impact on my life. My father did, telling me anything that a boy could do, I could do better. And I believed it. So whatever it was, whether it was like, you know, basketball or law or boxing or karate, I was like, I'm the best. I'm going to beat all the boys. So, you know, it was interesting. But that's what you have to do. You have to have someone in your life to inspire you. And I think both of you have done an incredible job of being inspirational with incredibly unique and fascinating careers. And I told my little boy, he was so excited to go to the SpaceX launch. He got to go and see all the behind the scenes, everything when we went there. You know, the way they're able to do this, I said they worked really hard in school. They applied themselves. They had a goal. You've got to do great. So he's so excited. He said, you know, I would really like to work with a math specialist throughout the summer. So I told him you got to be good at math and everything else in engineering to be an astronaut. So it's exciting. And I'm very grateful to have it as a, you know, an educational encouragement tool to get him into space. So thanks you guys for that. Jeff, so can you just talk a little bit more about how President Trump is establishing America in terms of like our full potential to unlock space exploration? I think he actually has a vision for it. Mm-hmm. And do you really feel like the ultimate goal, we've been talking about Mars, travel to Mars is sort of the next frontier?
Absolutely. You know, and for anyone that wants to look at this, just go and search for space policy directives. So again, one of the first orders of business for this administration was to bring back the Space Council, which has then issued space policy directives, and you can Google the different ones and read about them. The very first one was for us to go back to the moon, and that's where a lot of this guidance is coming from. It didn't exist for 20 years. The Space Council, he brought it back. He talked about it even on the campaign for a bit. He was going to do that. It's so passionate to President Trump's heart, and that brings everyone together. So like I said, Vice President Pence is the chair of the Space Council. And when they meet, you have all the different agencies, commerce, everywhere else, NASA, that's involved in space. You also have commercial partners. There's a users advisory group that has commercial partners. So everyone has a voice. We have a lot more people at the table bringing that vision together. And when those space policy directives are issued, they give us very clear guidance and direction. And it brings, like I said, because space in the U.S. government is fragmented in many agencies, it brings everybody together at the table and allows us to work together to be efficient, not only with taxpayer dollars, but with time and every other government resource to get this vision done. This is something that was needed. It did not even exist in the previous administration. President Trump brought it back. Vice President Pence chairs it. And that's what's giving us this significant leadership. And that is why America, again, is at the forefront of everything happening in space exploration.
Fantastic and well stated. And I go to you, Janet, to get any kind of final thoughts to tell our viewers out there, the Americans watching this program tonight that are fascinated with our space program and feeling, optimistic and positive about the future. And part of this is that space innovation and the program going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's only great things to look forward to in the future. We have the support, as you guys mentioned, to do great things in the future. You will see a combination of civil space and commercial space working together to get us to the surface of the moon with humans again. And then we will be pushing on to Mars. I am going to be so excited the first day that we can say we've landed humans on the surface of the moon again. That is going to be such a wonderful day. I have waited for a long time for that. It's, like I said, always been my dream. I'm fascinated with the moon and what we can do there and what we can learn there, and then how we can take that information and really, truly venture deeper into the solar system to go to Mars, to actually establish a colony on another planet. That's going to be a phenomenal day. And it's in our future. It's in our genetic code to explore. It's in our future to want to survive and to get further and further out there. And we can finally make all those sci-fi movies come true when we get out there and actually put people on another planet.
Except for the scary alien one.
Hey, Kimberly, one other thing. One thing to add, we've talked a lot about inspiring girls and about women's STEM and the future. And we'd be remiss, and I'd hate to not mention the great work that Ivanka Trump has done in that department.
Thank you. Yes, very true.
And she has been so active in all of those things at NASA. She's been a resource for us. If we need anything, she also helps us get things done. But as far as women's STEM and even minority women's STEM goes, what Ivanka Trump has done, and I just don't feel like the press gives her the credit that she deserves, because she has been an absolute powerhouse in this administration for it. And so I want to make sure we mention that too, for NASA and in every other way. She's taken such a lead role in that, and it's been great to see.
She really, thank you for saying that, because she doesn't get the credit that she deserves, but she doesn't do it for the credit. She does it because it's the right thing to do, and it's in her heart. That's why she's so good at it. It's very genuine. She wants to do anything she can within her power and her time and ability to serve this country, to lift up and empower women and young girls throughout not only just this country, but she's very inclusive throughout the world, and she's making a tremendous, impactful difference. And as you say, she's reaching beyond, and even in terms of the space program, she's doing that as well. It was great to be with her the other day, and she was able to bring her two of her three children, Arabella and Joseph, there, and I was able to bring Ronan, and it was wonderful to be able to share that with, the next generation. I can't thank you enough. I'm humbled by your presence here and honored by you joining us this evening and sharing your stories, your information, your intellect, and your passion for the space program and for this country. We need as many patriots as possible, like the two of you, to join our fight to keep America great, to make space great again, and to re-elect President Trump this November. And for those of you at home, here's how you can get involved. So to stay in contact with us, please text Trump to 88022. And another great way to get involved is by joining the Trump Victory Finance Committee. We are a nationwide network of volunteer fundraisers, or bundlers, as I like to call them, who play a crucial role in ensuring President Trump and the Republican Party's victory in November. And you at home can join our Trump Victory Finance Committee by visiting donaldjtrump.com/bundle or by texting bundle to 88022. Thank you all again for spending your evening with us. We will see you next time. And for this, we sign off.